Hello, this is Manesh Patel from ichimokutrade.com. Today is March 6, 2013, and this is going to be our bi-weekly Ichimoku analysis for the currency Forex market. Notice we said bi-weekly. We're kind of switching these from doing these on a weekly basis to bi-weekly. That way they'd be more effective because a lot of information really doesn't change week to week, and it's very time consuming to go for these videos. So we're going to change these to bi-weekly format. This is our normal disclaimer to state this is for education use only. If you decide to take any trades from this educational workshop, you're doing that at your own risk. All the charts that today you're going to see are from TradeStation, and the music in the background is from Kitara. Here are my contact details here. You could go to our website, ichimokutrade.com, access any of our free videos, email alerts, multiple time frame email alerts, heat maps, so forth. You could email us here or give us a call at any of our global office locations here. Okay, so let's go straight and start looking at the currency markets. We're going to load up TradeStation here. We're going to load up here currencies. Okay, so remember, when we look at this chart, when you look at these charts here, remember the chart to your left is always going to be a daily time frame, and the chart to your right is going to be your weekly time frame. And remember, we pretty much start looking at the weekly, and then we go to daily if need be. If you look at here at, this is not even Australian CAD, sorry. If you look at Australian CAD here, it looks like it's trending here with this little upward movement. It's not. It's actually getting to its resistance here. Resistance is about 5,500, I would say, give or take a couple of points from the top. Support on this one's going to be basically about 424. So we're ranging, we're kind of stuck right here between that two ranges. It's really got to break this resistance to start a trend. If it does, this thing will take off and start a trend to the upside. So definitely keep an eye on this one, Australian CAD, to move forward. If it breaks that level, then it does have the potential to come in all the way up here. Let me mark that off here. It does have a potential to come here about 657 before it hits the next resistance, and then if it breaks that, then it does have a potential of coming retest the highs here, which is pretty much right here at 766. So if it breaks this resistance here, you do have a potential of moving about 200 pips, possibly anywhere from 100 to 200 to retest the all-time high, which is a major resistance up there. Excuse me. But momentum is on the strong side to this, so Australia does look very strong compared to the Canadian currency. Australian yen still very, very strong here. It's been holding the support at 94.30, so that's been very, very strong as far as that's concerned. If you look at the resistance, it's pretty much at the top here, which is pretty much going to be, let's just mark it off here, to be about 97.21. So that's the resistance there. So support is 94.30, resistance is going to be 97.21. So that's kind of ranging between those two values right now. Australian Switzerland really not doing anything at all. It's kind of ranging right now between 9,800 and 9,400, and that's the two values that it's ranging between. So it's really not trending or doing anything at all as the charts are concerned. Australia, New Zealand, this thing had a chance to sit there and tank. It's kind of been holding around this resistance level here. Let me kind of delete this line here so you could kind of see here, but the resistance level it's kind of holding at right now is right here at 23.81. It's holding that resistance, and the support on this one's going to be 21.95. This does have a potential of starting a trend to the downside if it could sit there and kind of start making a move towards 21.95. If it does that, then we can sit there and continue on with this trend to the downside. So this is one to keep an eye on. It's not ready yet, just like the Australian CAD, but you could sit there and break down anytime. Okay, Australian USD, you could see a little bearish trend here on the daily side, daily trend time frame. But if you look at the weekly, it's just things just consolidating right now between a big range. And if you look at the range right now, you're looking at basically right here at 113, and then the top side is basically here at right there at 585. So this is about a 400 pip range that the Australian USD has been ranging for a little while now, almost close to a year. So we're pretty much at the bottom of the range right now. So it'll be interesting to see if we hold the support or we break through it. where we bounce off there and start going towards the top of the range again. Cat Switzy really doing nothing right now. Sentiment finally changed this week to be bearish. It came out of the clouds, so sentiment's finally bearish on the weekly time frame. However, this thing needs to break down. Support on this one's going to be about 90.50. Resistance on this one's going to be about 93.71. So that's minor resistance is going to be 92.68, and major resistance is going to be 93.71, and that's the two values it's kind of hanging around with. CAD yen. If you look at CAD yen, really not doing anything at all. Support's going to be about 89. Resistance, short-term resistance is going to be at about 91.50. It's stuck between that 91.50 and 89 range. Depending on what it does there, it's going to sit there and start a trend to the top side, where it's going to retest the highs here at 94. If it doesn't do that and it breaks the support, minor support 90.43, then it'll definitely go back to 89. And then if it breaks 89, it will have a possibility, believe it or not, to retest the lows, retest the next major support, which is 86.64. But this thing is very, very strong. So, chance of it holding 89 as a support is going to be very high. Switzerland yen here, this again is holding its support. Support's going to be around 98. Resistance on this one's going to be about 152. Nothing really to talk about on this one. Euro Australia. If you look at Euro Australia here, on a weekly time frame, it's at a major support right now, which is at 26.83. Resistance on this one's going to be about 29.20. If this does sit there and break the support here, believe it or not, it is going to have a chance to go to 2200 and possibly go retest this low here. So keep an eye on this one right now. This is in there, look like it's trying to fail right now, tried to go down. The reason why it came out of the cloud, sentiment was bullish. It had a chance to take off, but it really didn't, and kind of came right back into the cloud, which is not good. So this does have a high possibility coming down to about 2200 and then possibly going down lower if it starts a trend. So I'll definitely keep an eye on this one in the next couple of weeks. EURCAD, almost the same thing as Euro Australia. It came out of the cloud here. The sentiment on this one is still bullish on the weekly time frame. Support on this one's going to be about 32.81. Resistance is going to be about 35.18. Euro Switzerland, nothing new on this one. It's at a support level right now. I would say it's about 2150 is a support level. It's at a resistance level right now, a major resistance, which is at 2313. If it breaks that, the major one's going to be 2500 moving forward. Euro DKK, if you look here, we're kind of at a support level right now, which is basically about 45.40 is a support level on this one. Resistance is going to be basically 45.75, but really this is not doing anything right now, just kind of ranging between the two support and resistances. Euro pound, you could see this is a nice little trend up here, really hasn't pulled back at all right now. It's at a minor support level, which is basically 8600. Resistance on this is going to be 86.95. This definitely needs a pullback right now, so we're looking for a pullback. If it could actually pull back to about 84.59, that would be a great level to sit there and possibly buy or a bounce off there. But we have to look at it when it gets there to look at to actually buy it. Euro yen is still holding support right around 120.61. Resistance on this one is going to be 123.21. Euro NOK on here, really not doing anything, just consolidating. You could see here it's in the cloud. If you look at the resistance, it's basically 5,000. If you look at the support, it's roughly going to be about 3,800. Euro New Zealand. If you look here, this had a nice movement up, came down. This thing is just consolidating right here. However, it's at a major support right now, which is at 5,600. Resistance is going to be 59.74. If this breaks the 5,600 support, this does have a high possibility of coming and retesting this low all the way down here, which is the value of 50.85. So definitely keep an eye on this one, because this can move about 500 pips or so if it breaks that major support. Euro SEK, you can see it's trending on basically the daily time frame, and it's trending here on the weekly too. This thing is going to retest the low at 2000, so keep an eye on this one. Resistance on this one, the minor one's going to be about 39.51. Major one's going to be about 47.88. Euro USD really not doing anything right now. Sentiment's changed here on a daily, but it's in the cloud here on the weekly, which is not good. So it basically means it's consolidating. Resistance on this one's going to be about 31.41. Support on this guy is going to be let's just say, well, let's say 28.01, which is going to be its next support level, which is not too far away from. Okay, pound USD. You could see here starting a trend on the daily time frame, but you could see here it's basically retesting its major support level here, which is basically right around here, which is 46.16, which is kind of got to and kind of stalled there. If it breaks that level, it's going to start a trend on both the daily and weekly, so watch out and keep an eye on this one right at that borderline. So this is kind of flirting around with that support line, and if it breaks that, it can start a major trend to the downside. Very similar to the Euro Australian, if you notice that. So Australia is getting strong compared to a lot of the currencies out there right now. Pound Switzy, if you look here, really not doing anything here. Sentiment is bearish on both sides. This did start a trend here to the downside, which pretty much got us through the cloud right now. However, it's in need of a pullback right now. Resistance on this one is going to be about 44.84. Support on this guy is going to be about 4,000. Pound Yen. If you look here, this is not doing much here. It's basically a trend here. We're in counter trend mode right now, where we're basically stuck between 136.18 and 142.89 right now. Pound New Zealand. If you look at Pound New Zealand, it is trending on both to the downside, on both the daily and weekly. This has been a great one that's been trending since the beginning of this year. Not a lot of people have been looking at it, but still moving forward, moving down really well. Resistance on this one's going to be basically 84.92. The minor support's going to be about 88,000, which is kind of got there, touched off there, and came back. Pound USD has been trending to the downside here. You could see this big movement down, and you could see the continuous movement down that this thing's had. It's been very strong. It broke this support level here, which was a good thing now. Now it needs to kind of pull back to that support level that it broke, and then sit there and start seeing exactly what happens. On this one, minor resistance is going to be 51.52. Major resistance is going to be 54.81. Support is basically going to be 5,000, which is not much of a support right now, but it is holding. New Zealand CAD, this one basically starting a trend on the daily and starting a trend on the weekly. A little hesitation right now. Support, minor support on this one's going to be about 84.04. Resistance is going to be 8,600, but this one is trickling up north, so just keep a lookout for this one. Okay. New Zealand Switzy, here you could see it's retesting its high right now, which is a major resistance level right now, which is right here. Whoops. Let's put that back up here, 86.67. If you look at the support, minor support is going to be 77.67. Major one is going to be 77.22. New Zealand Yen, if you look here, this is trending on both the daily and weekly. It held this minor support at 76.09, and it looks like it's trying to retest a high, which is getting close to about 80. New Zealand USD, not really much going on right now. It's basically consolidating right now. Major support on this one is going to be 8,200. Resistance is going to be 84.70. Singapore Yen, this is holding. It held the support at 73.38. It's going to retest the high at 76, which is basically the resistance. US CAD, this thing made a major trend on the daily time frame. Just came out here on the weekly time frame right now. It hasn't started a trend on the weekly, believe it or not. It needs a pullback. The minor pullback level is 250. Major one's going to be about 136, and resistance on this thing is going to be about 4,000. US Switzy, looks like a trend going on the daily. However, we're still in the cloud right now, so we're getting close to resistance at 9,500. Support on this one's going to be about 8,250. USDKK, really nothing going on here. It moved down, came back up. It's kind of sitting there hanging around. It's very close to its resistance of 7,500. Support on this one, the minor one's going to be about 67.56. Major one's going to be about 59.54. US Hong Kong, bounce off its support level down here at 7,500 and basically gone up, hit the top of the cloud, bottom of the cloud, which is a resistance at 7,600, and right now it's kind of stalling between those two values of 7,600 and 7,500. US yen still going up on both the daily and weekly, held a support at basically 90.63, and it's retesting the high right now, which is, I would say, about 94.50. US NOK really doing nothing at all, consolidating really. So resistance is going to be 8,000, support's going to be basically 60.59. USD SEK really not doing anything at all, bounce off its support at 96.78. Resistance is going to be basically 54.35. And US Singapore dollar really sitting there starting a trend on the daily, but really going to about run into resistance right now at 2,500, which is just resistance, and 24.16 is its support moving forward. That's it for this week for the currency market. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ping us. Our contact details are right here. Again, and have a good week, and see you in 2 weeks.